Hey, it's Jordan here from Stretford, Paddock. Welcome back to the channel. Me and Cam are outside Old Trafford in what is a pretty sunny Tuesday morning, all things considered. There's a little bit of a breeze, but it's still very nice outside, so make sure you're soaking up all of that sun. 2 days to go before it's going to get a little bit rubbish, as the weather reports are usually saying. It's going to rain a lot, so really you've got to be careful if you're going to get out there. Make sure you're taking advantage of everything. As always, we have a bit of Old Trafford news coming out. We're going to talk to you about the developments of Kieran Trippier, about the futures of Raphael Varane as well, and why his move from Real Madrid, if it's not to Manchester United, could pose some centre-back problems in the future. We've also got some updates on the futures of Diego Dalot and Donny van der Beek. He could be going to a mid-table Premier League team, but I'll be getting into that a little bit later on. We also have some updates on the Glazer's fans forum, quotes what he was saying to the fans forum, Joe Glazer himself. A lot of backlash coming out of that since it happened, but as always, don't forget to like the video, drop us an early like for the nice weather before it goes. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. As always, without further ado, let's get straight into it. So we've been here with a little bit of breaking news following our return back to the studio, and that is that Dean Henderson has withdrawn from the England squad for Euro 2020 due to that reoccurring hip injury that he's had. Now, we're all gutted for him as for a fan base now, because it's his first international tournament, his first international major tournament with England, despite the fact he was number 2. But now he's going to come back to Carrington, come back to Old Trafford and start his rehabilitation to get that hip injury sorted for the start of next season, which is probably the best thing for us lot as Manchester United fans. But that is the breaking news coming out from us, that it is because of that reoccurring hip injury that Dean Henderson has withdrawn from the England squad. So we're going to start off with Kieran Trippier. He's a name that's been talked about a lot in the transfer window these past few weeks, being linked with Manchester United, being heavily linked with Manchester United, should I say. He performed well out of position in the first game of the Euros, which didn't really make sense considering you had a Champions League winning left-back and a player of the season left-back at his disposal, but he still continued to play Kieran Trippier. I mean, I think he does trust him, Gareth Southgate, but we've got some updates that have come from the Gazzetta dello Sport in Italy, and they have said that Manchester United have made a new offer of €25 million to Atletico Madrid for Kieran Trippier after the previous €20 million bid had been turned down. The latest proposal that's been put forward by United has got Diego Simeone thinking. Now, it's the same sort of argument that we had about Kieran Trippier that when we were speaking about him a couple of weeks ago. Does he leave a title-winning Atletico team to come to Manchester United and fight for his place with Aaron Wan-Bissaka, with the likes of Brandon Williams as well? Do you think that he would want to fight for his position in a team that aren't guaranteed to be challenging for the title if the transfer recruitment is wrong? I mean, let us know what you think if Kieran Trippier would come to Manchester United, but there have been rumours talking about him that he has changed his UK phone number to he's changed his number to a UK phone number now. It looks like we're sort of grabbing on scraps there, to be honest. But these rumours are coming out, and you do have to consider them when you're thinking about the fact that he is from Bury. He's now buddied up in the England camp with some of the lads, his missus there. You have to also think that Kieran Trippier is a Manchester United fan. His boyhood family, they support Manchester United, so it will be interesting to see what happens with Kieran Trippier, whether he actually decides to come to Manchester United. But if we rumoured to have a sort of £150 million transfer kitty for the transfer window coming up, we obviously need to make recruitments, we need to make signings, but would you want to spend £25-30 million of that transfer kitty on the likes of Kieran Trippier when we have people in the academy, we have people on loan, which we're going to talk about a little bit later on, who have been performing very well for both their clubs in the form of Ethan Laird and of Diego Dalot, which these guys, they're going to be wanting to come back and be fighting for a place in the first team. They've both got a little bit of first team experience, so we have to consider if Kieran Trippier comes in, what does that mean for the future of Diego Dalot? What does it mean for the future of Ethan Laird, for Brandon Williams, etc., etc.? For me, if Kieran Trippier does come in, then I'd like to see Brandon Williams and Ethan Laird go out on loan, because they've performed quite well considering Williams hasn't had a lot of game time this year, and Ethan Laird's been lighting it up in League One under former Norwich captain Russell Martin at MK Dons. So it'd be interesting to see what they do. And for me, Kieran Trippier, if he does come in, is only going to help Aaron Wan-Bissaka. If we look back to what Alex Telles did for Luke Shaw, I think when we saw Alex Telles come into the club, we thought he was going to be the first team left back coming in. He didn't think he'd revitalise Luke Shaw the way that he has done, and we've nothing but reaped the benefits from it. So it'll be interesting to see whether Kieran Trippier does decide to come to Manchester United. But another transfer that could be looming from Madrid, but instead of Atletico it is Real, is Raphael Varane. Now, according to El Confidencial, which, if I'm correct in assuming, it's a sort of Spanish version of The Athletic from the UK, They have a couple of developments on his future, saying that Raphael Varane has decided to leave Real Madrid and wants to join Paris Saint-Germain. Manchester United are also interested, but he wants to return home and go to France. He's decided to leave Real and join Paris Saint-Germain, and the club have already started to look for a replacement. Now, that's the interesting part of this story, because you can't just consider straight away that if a player wants to leave and he said that he wants to join another club, that he's going there straight away. For example, Jorginho Wijnaldum wanted to join Barcelona for weeks on end. He was linked with the perfect midfield with Frankie de Jong under Ronald Koeman, a fellow Dutchman. And what happened? He went straight to PSG 2 weeks later because he got offered a little bit more money. Now, Raphael Varane, they're all saying that he wants to go back home, back to France, and it sort of makes sense, but you can't just put the story to bed straight away, because we've seen how these things play out before. He could be just negotiating another contract. If Manchester United offer him a bigger contract, he would come straight in. Now, he's valued around £50 million, which is what Real Madrid look like they'd be willing to accept for the Frenchman. They already have made a free signing in the form of David Alaba to replace him in that centre-half position. But the interesting part is that from that story in El Confidencial, if I can say the bleeding thing right, is that they're already looking for a replacement Real Madrid. Now, if Varane does leave and then ends up joining Paris Saint-Germain, if Real Madrid are looking at the likes of Jules Koundé from Sevilla and Pau Torres from Villarreal, two centre-halves that we've also been very heavily linked with to partner Harry Maguire for next season, that domino effect could really negatively affect us in the transfer market if we're going out and trying to find another centre-half who can really sort of bulk up our options at the back, because Harry Maguire needs a fast, sort of young partner to sort of deal with the fact that he doesn't really have the legs, but you need that quick, agile centre-half that Eric Bailly is, but his injury record doesn't help him, that Victor Lindelof could be, but despite the fact of his man-of-the-match performance yesterday in a 0-0 draw against Spain, where he did give the ball away a few times, so how he even got that was a little bit shell-shocking to me personally, but we need that centre-half pairing now. It depends what Raphael Varane obviously decides to do, but we have to consider that you can't just take the first rumour that comes out from somewhere in Spain and then just automatically assume it's going to happen, because Raphael Varane could still join Manchester United. It's all up to him whether he gets a half-decent contract offer from us, which I'm sure they would. Carlo Ancelotti wants to sell him. As we've seen before, Raphael Varane, he doesn't get on with Carlo Ancelotti. He wants to leave Real Madrid, as reported. It'll just be interesting to see where he ends up. Now, a final piece of transfer news coming into Old Trafford is that we've seen Fabrizio Romano, a fan favourite of the channel, who is going to be on the channel later on this week, so don't make sure that you do check that out. He tweeted, was that there are no talks between Arsenal or Manchester United or the players' agents for Donny van de Beek. Arsenal will sign a new midfielder, but there's nothing going on with van de Beek as of today. Now, if you're Donny van de Beek, you do not go to Arsenal. I'm sorry. Like I said before, they finished mid-table. I think they were 8th in the league. They've got no chance of European football. He'd get in at Arsenal and he'd get the minutes, but we have to be patient with the likes of Donny van de Beek. He's probably had one of the worst seasons in his footballing career if you think about minutes played for United, the hype that came around him after a £40 million move from Ajax. He doesn't get in the team. He barely breaks into the first team. He gets a couple of assists and a goal on his debut, but then after that, he sort of popped in the complete opposite direction that we would have hoped for. But the reason why you have to give him time is because look at the likes of Ilkay Gundogan at Manchester City, at Jorginho Wijnaldum. Wijnaldum could only score at St James's Park before he came to Liverpool. Then he was in the Champions League final for him. Ilkay Gundogan was a bit part player for 4 years before he became Manchester City's top goal scorer in a season. These players sort of need time to adapt, to get in and understand the league and understand their best position under managers. And there's no better man manager for him than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but he's not going to dislodge Bruno Fernandes in that tent. He might get a chance at dislodging a McTominay or a Fred if he keeps going, but then if he wants to mould himself into a 6, which he isn't, he's not got the pace, he's not got that aggression. You have to be patient with Donny van de Beek though, because, like I say, he's going to be gutted that he's not going to the Euros, because the international side of the Netherlands absolutely love him. All the ex-Netherlands footballers absolutely love him as well. They rave about him week in, week out. It just depends on whether he can break into that first team and really make the steps. But in terms of that transfer rumour, as Stephen would say pretty much in every transfer, it's a 0 out of 10. There's no chance that that's happening. I mean, why would you go to Arsenal point blank? I don't need to say anything more. Now we are going to move on to a little bit of controversy from the United Forum, which involved Joe Glazer talking about his lack of prior communication to the club. Now this was no surprise to us as Manchester United fans. They have been absolutely pants at communication for the past 15 years. They've spoke to us, I think, twice, maybe. And that's probably been kind to him, if I'm perfectly honest. He was quoted saying that we always took the approach that we should stay in the background, let the manager, the players, the people at Old Trafford be the ones out in front communicating and talking, but in retrospect that was not the right approach and there is a middle ground. Our silence wrongly created the impression that we don't care, that we aren't football fans, that we only care about our commercial interests and money. And I can assure you nothing could be further from the truth. I mean, are you honestly being serious about that, Mr. Joe Glazer? You have not communicated with us as a fan base for ages, and now you assume that because your silence created the wrong impression. You created the wrong impression taking money off the club, not putting money in. People who go to the mega store over there and buy a t-shirt or a mug or a keyring have put more money into the club than you have because you've been taking it all away. Now, all of these comments have been, he was going against what Gary Neville said, trying to come up with a sort of middle ground as an owner towards a fan base, because we know how much we love Gary Neville right now, and I think he's sort of won over the fans all over the country who may have disliked him before he became a pundit because of his history with Manchester United, but he's been fighting so hard to try and get the sort of stigma out of the way that these terrible owners, they know what they're doing. They don't. They have no idea. We've all known that as a fan base, and everybody's seen with the European Super League what they did to us as fans. You have to ignore Joe Glazer and anything that he said there, because yeah, after 15 years of pressure, they've decided to finally put some fans into sort of the meetings to delegate what could happen in the future run of the club. But we also have to consider that this man has not put any money into the football club, and we really do need to take everything he says with the biggest pinch of salt. You'd think you were trying to sort of season a sea bass, honestly. So that's it from me and Cam outside Old Trafford for today's Manchester United news. Don't forget, at 2 o'clock today, we have a brand new transfer show live with Joe Smith on YouTube for a transfer report show, as Joe delves into the detailed aspects of some of the transfers that we've been linked with recently, where they've been coming from and how accurate they are. That's live at 2 o'clock on the Stretford Paddock YouTube channel. As always, any news that breaks out, we will be all over it. We will go straight live. You'll see all the news coming from us, from the likes of Jay, Macca, Steve and Joe. As I say, we also keep an eye out on the Twitch channel later on, because we may or may not have a watch along coming today for a big game in the Euro, so keep an eye out for that. I've been Jordan Simpson. This has been Stretford Paddock. Don't forget to like the video, comment your thoughts on all today's news. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because why else are you watching? All right, we'll see you in a bit. Varane and Ancelotti don't really get along, as we found out. Nice little Manchester United branded floor cleaner there, but